The short answer is no. I do not support removing the blood quantum for the public office, because that question really means, am I in support of changing the Constitution and removing the blood quantum requirement? And that's not something that is taken lightly, especially when I took an oath to defend the Constitution. So until we can have conversations about anytime you want to change something, especially our Constitution, we need to have those conversations, and on both sides we need to have those conversations. And we need to be able to listen to one another, and not just have our own opinion on it, but listen to both sides, and really think about the pros and cons of it. But until we really have those conversations, until we can sit down with both sides and talk about it, it really needs to stay as it is. But it ultimately comes down that this is a constitutional issue. It's an issue that should be decided by the people, and until the people know all the information and it is presented in front of them, and so they know the pros and cons, and they can make a informed decision, I think it needs to stay as is.
Not at this time. I believe that at this time we need to have an impact study to let us know how many people actually want to raise or lower the blood quantum, and poll the people to find out a good answer for this. Thank you.
As of right now, we have the BF&J committee on the National Council, and during their meetings they have certain entities come in, the gaming come in, MNBE come in, One Fire come in, and they will give a report of how everything is doing. This occurs monthly, and sometimes we have to go into executive session, but most of the time citizens can stay in those executive sessions, and so that's just one way we try to get the information out there. But we can always do a better job, and so I think one way to improve the financial transparency would be to maybe include it in maybe a quarterly newsletter, or maybe have a stakeholders meeting, and this stakeholders meeting not only for the citizens in jurisdiction, but even for the at-large citizens, go out there and have these stakeholder type meetings. And so that's just one way we can improve the financial transparency. But when you talk about financial transparency, are you talking about just our businesses? To me, it goes beyond that also. We go donate money. We to certain causes. We give money to certain groups. I remember a while back we gave money to a jump rope group, and it was, I can't remember the exact amount, 5,000, 7,000, something like that. And that's a financial investment in there. The return is different. It's not a monetary return, but you do get a return when you invest into our kids and our citizens. So, and they had went to the World Jump Roping Champions down in Orlando, and they did very well down there. I had the sponsor send me some pictures, and she did a little write-up on it. And so I wanted, at that time, I gave that information to the Muscogee media, and to show the citizens, hey, this is how some of the money is being spent, and this, because really when you see the legislation, all it says is, hey, we donated money to this organization, and that's it. You don't see the back end of it. And so I wanted to show the citizens this is the investment we all made into this jump roping group. And I can't remember how many Creek kids were on there. There's quite a few, but it never made it to print. And so to me that's one way we could have shown financial transparency. Like I said, to me it's just not about our businesses, but it's also about what's the outcome of investing into our own people, and so those things we have to work on. But that's just a little bit of how we can improve financial transparency. Is just being open. It's not just our money; it's everybody's money that we're using, and so every citizen has a right to know where that money is being spent, who is spending it, and what the return is. So,
As second chief and second chief's office, this is something that will be provided by the chief's office, and I will assist or help him with input and to the citizens of the financials or of the transparency of the investments. Thank you.
you know, right now the tribe has a lot of information going out. You know, we have Muscogee Media, which has their TV show. It has a radio show. We have the newspaper. We have all sorts of social media accounts. And so we have a lot of information going out to our citizens. But communication is a two-way street. It's an exchange of information. And so how do we capture that information coming back from our at-large citizens? And so a couple years ago, Chief Floyd, did establish an at-large office. And so, so that was a good step in trying to capture that information coming in from our at-large citizens. Obviously, the one way to increase that communication is to increase that office. And as second chief of the Creek Nation, what I would propose is that Chief put that office underneath the second chief, because we had talks of. Or there had been talks, and we didn't formally talk about anything, but you always hear something about, the at-large citizens needs their own representative. But that obviously means a change in the Constitution. So until that can actually come to fruition, and people have to vote on it and everything else, I think that it could be something that's underneath the office of the second chief, and he has oversight of that. And so he'd be, that'd be the responsibility to make sure that all that information that is getting out there and coming back in is collected. We actually do something with it, and we work on it. But to increase the communication, though, we can have all that information going out electronically, wherever it may be, but nothing beats face-to-face. Nothing beats face-to-face. And so, we've started a good deal with the at-large meetings. I think it's been refined pretty well. We have a good grasp on what we got to do, but we can always improve things. And so, those at-large meetings, I think that if it's put underneath the at-large program, we can make it grow. We can actually incorporate more cultural type activities where it's not just social services. I was in Anaheim this past year, and I noticed that we did have some cultural aspects of it. And we had the blowgun maker out there, and so I was happy to see that. But we're talking with people, with the at-large citizens. They want more culture. Not just the services, but more culture, and so we can bring more language information out there, and those type of things. So, and I think whenever you bring our culture to them, they feel more connected to the tribe, and that's ultimately the goal is to make our at-large citizens feel more connected to the tribe. And so, to me, that would be the goal of our at-large program, is to how can we make our at-large citizens more connected to the tribe, because when you label them at large, you feel like you're labeling them outsiders, but they're not outsiders. They're citizens of our tribe. And so we got to find a way to make them feel connected and more part of the tribe.
Currently, we have Chabon Gouge, who works with the at-large citizens and does a good job with this department, but I believe that we can add to his budget and expand this department to help the at-large citizens. Thank you.
Well, I've always supported a free press, an independent free press. The last 4 years, if you look at my voting record, I've always supported it. And so the question, do I support allowing the citizens to vote on a constitutional amendment? I don't see how there's any way I could stop the citizens from voting. So obviously, I want citizens to vote. Everywhere I go, I tell people that it's important that we vote. And so, but it's also just equally as important to know what you're voting on. And so, yeah, obviously, I would say, yeah, I support citizens voting. I don't know how I could, not allow somebody to vote, that don't make a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, if the vote comes up, to change the Constitution and put that in the Constitution, then I would definitely support citizens going out and voting on it. I'm not going to tell them how to vote, but I would like to just tell them to make sure they know both sides of the issue and just be a informed voter, because that's one of our rights that we have. And so be an informed voter, know what you're voting about, the pros and cons of it. So yeah, I support allowing citizens to vote on a constitutional amendment for free press. I mean, if that's a vote of the people, then by all means, let's go vote.
This question, I believe, I haven't seen an amendment. I just need some clarification on this question to give a good answer. This is something that, for the amendment for free press, that we should poll the people to find out if something that they would like to do. Thank you.
This question, I feel, has a little gray area to it. I guess a short answer would be no. I'm not in favor of that. But you gotta. My immediate question is, as what? Do we allow? Are we talking about allow them as full citizens? Or what? I mean, so to me, like I said, this question is to me creates more questions for myself. This question creates more questions. So the short answer would be a no. The Constitution says that to be a citizen of the Creek Nation, it has to be by blood. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and that's where I stand on it. To be a citizen of the Muscogee Creek Nation, it has to be by blood, and I took an oath to uphold that, and so that's what I will do.
This question is very complex, being that we're still in a legal battle. I believe that we must abide by the Constitution of Creek Nation. Thank you.